you get out of the business. One's telling you to do the business. You're in one of those three buckets, and you can just see people's, man. And I even have people come up and say, man, I'm in that middle bucket. Some days I'm good, some days I'm not. And then when you run those meetings, you talk about what you do to get out of this bucket, the people that you should be speaking to. Hey, if you want to get out of this halfway bucket, speak to the best people, so on and so forth. So using those meetings to preempt the strike, and it helps retain people, and then it helps your communication with your people. The biggest disconnect in retention is that there's a communication barrier, and people don't always tell you things, whether it's a leader, whether it's someone that's just started. These meetings and creating these buckets and relating and using your story to let them know it's okay, it's really, really important. The win part's pretty easy. You guys know when to run the meeting. When should we be doing the meeting? What's the in an atmosphere, the meeting comes at what time?
8 a.m.
Or the time. It's bottom line is for me, the meeting starts. Meeting, not impact, not practice pitch. The meeting should be what part of your atmosphere?
The end.
The end. Why? It's the momentum into the field, right? It creates the momentum to get out, to go into the field and start our day. So you guys know that. You gals know that. As far as different topics, I've touched on some of them for you. So addressing that question of how do I know what to run the meeting on, right? How do I know what message is going to be the most impactful? How do I know that what I'm saying is the most relevant when it comes to meetings? What I think about is a few things. One is you're on owners' calls already, right? So you have owners' calls that will, I just simply take those messages and I pass them down in a language to the guys, right? It might be a little bit of a different language or a different perspective when you're talking to your office rather than talking to owners, but that message, I'm always passing it down, and that's really the whole point of the hierarchy of growth, right? You have a promoting owner, you have a regional, or you have a national. And where do you think the regionals and nationals are getting information from? Michael Mariash. Michael Mariash is speaking directly to the clients. The clients are the ones listening to the consumers. So it goes consumer to clients, AT&T, Sprint, Uber, right? Vivid, whoever, Verizon, Sprint. And then it goes down to the people running the program, the nationals, to their offices, to the field. So you want to just carry on that message and deliver it in a way that obviously your team will understand. So that's one way where you're getting your meetings from. The other place I'm getting my meetings from is because, especially as rookie managers, there's none of you that aren't in the field. I'm not even going to ask who's not in the field, because that would be impossible if you're a new owner to not be in the field after like a month of running a business. I've never seen that before. But you're in the field, so you know what's happening in the field. You know what's happening with the people you're training, and then you have communication with leaders. So you're speaking. You should be speaking to your leaders every single night. And so it's a combination of all those things. Your calls, you being in the field, seeing what's happening in the stores, communicating with your leaders on what's happening with them. And then the final piece is obviously we've got on Ownerville, do you guys and gals know that on Ownerville we've got a bunch of meetings listed on Ownerville? So it's taking maybe and looking at some of those meetings, and here's the key if you see those meetings. The key of those meetings on Ownerville is you have to create your own interpretation and deliver it your way. If you try to read it, you're gonna sound crazy, right? Okay, let me tell you about the giraffe and the baby. You know, if you don't say it your way, it's gonna sound really scripted and really dumb. The idea behind the giraffe kicking the baby is what? They're teaching it very early how to be independent, because it's gonna need to learn how to move as a youngster so that it doesn't get eaten, right? So right out the womb, where I'm kicking your ass because I've got to get you rocking and rolling, because in a week I don't have time. Mr. Lion or Tiger might be chasing us in a week. So you need to know how to run now, right? So however you want to deliver that, that was my version, that was my personality, all that fun stuff. But just make sure you interpret it and then deliver it your way. What are other ways you can run meetings? Here's a really simple one. I'll Google, top advice from Mark Cuban. And there'll just be a bunch of different articles. I pulled up one the other day. It was 6 key points that Elon Musk had on becoming successful. And you read through them and you highlight things that are more relevant, because sometimes some of the advice doesn't apply to our business model and what our guys do, but maybe 4 out of 6 of his points really hit home with your business. Like, I'll tell you guys from that article that I read, one of the big things he talked about was self-evaluation. He says, whenever I come up with an idea or a product or a service, I ask my friends and family what sucks about it. And then he says, whenever he's evaluating himself, he does the same thing. He'll go up to his 3 or 4 best friends and he'll say, what do you hate about my personality? It's kind of a weird question to ask your best friend, right? or family members that you're close to. And he talks about, what would you change about my personality if you could? And then they tell him, I wish you were a better listener, right? Sometimes you're moving 100 miles per hour, you don't hear what I'm saying. And he takes inventory for self-improvement, right? That's an example of an article that you can just Google advice from whoever. You could say, or you could tell a story, right? The J.K. Rowling, you guys know the J.K. Rowling story? That's an unbelievable story when you're talking about from rags to riches. You guys know what book she wrote, right? Or what movies, right? The Harry Potter, right? The Oprah Winfrey story, sharing those stories. Again, another rags to riches, abuse in that background. I mean, there's amazing success stories. The Dr. Dre story, if you know anything about that, and working out of his garage, and now he's a billionaire. I mean, you see the first few years of his story, you're like, this guy becoming a billionaire is impossible, right? So these are different things that you can share with your group to relay a message. You can look up statistics and then you got to be careful with these ones, but when you're making a point about, and you really, if you're going to talk about things like school and give statistics, it's really important that you don't ostracize people when you're talking about school, right? Like, I know me, when I first became an owner, one of my mistakes, I graduated from college. How I did that is still a story to try to figure out, but I did. And even with doing that, like when I first became a manager, I used to really bash it, right? I used to ostracize people that were going to school. Like, I was like, why did you finish school, right? That was my demeanor towards the meeting, which isn't good, right? You actually create the opposite effect, because then someone feels like, oh, well, I guess I can't do this because I actually care about school. So be careful with not, and making sure you don't ostracize corporate America, right? You don't ostracize someone that school's a big priority to them, right? And we, like Mike talked about yesterday, we have people that go to school and finish school as managers. So you can give points and opinions. Try not to always come off like, if you don't do this, you suck. If you don't play sports, you're not going to be successful, right, in our business. So really, really, really be careful with that. Any questions so far on anything? We'll have time at the end to go through some more. Common mistakes. One of the big mistakes when we talk about the meetings is you start them late because you're getting caught up and you're losing track of time. And it sounds like common sense that starting it late is bad. It's a big mistake, but it happens a lot. It happened to me a ton as a new owner, because we're just, we're practice pitching, and my schedule's not as good as it probably should be. I'm not as on point with my schedule. There's a lot of things happening. I'm getting a phone call all of a sudden, man, I got to get the guys out. Because then, of course, now the issue with being late for the meeting is what? What happens now if you're late for a meeting? We got compliance issues, right? If you're in Costco, if you're in Sam's Mobility, you're going to get docked money for phones for showing up late. So there's really not an option to be late to the retailer, right? So then what do you have to do? You have to cut your meeting short. So you heard me at the beginning of this say, what did I say I would look forward to every morning as a new person? Meeting. I looked forward to the meeting. I was motivated about it. And if it gets rushed, that changes my whole mindset, I don't even know if I make it through the program because I'm not fully educated. You don't have time to educate me on 5 minutes on the cash flow quadrant, which is a Robert Kiyosaki impact. You don't have time in 5 minutes to explain to me why road trips are so important or why expanding outside of my local city was so important. In 5 minutes, you can't get that done. In fact, in 5 or 10 minutes, 5 or 7, 8 minutes, when you know that you have to rush, what do you think that you're going to divert to? Impact sales. You're going to, I got 5 minutes, I have to divert to this impact because I know this one really fast and I'm a little disheveled, I'm a little disorganized. Guys are hearing about sales, they're missing the educational value, and all of a sudden, now they're off to the field and you missed a key opportunity to develop someone. Your meeting can be the difference between whether or not, if I work in your office, it can be the difference between whether I keep my attitude or not today. It can be the difference between if I get a text from my significant other asking me, hey, how long are you going to be doing this for in the middle of the day? It can determine if I fall to that side of the table or if I fall to the other side of the table, which is, it's just going to take me some time, but I'm going to keep investing. That your meeting has that much power. Because if I lean towards the significant other trying to nag me out because I didn't get educated properly, that's what leads for me rolling a zero. It's what leads for me not focusing the rest of the day, and it leads to me calling you the next day and telling you I'm going to put in my 2 weeks. Because you had a couple opportunities to impact me and you missed them. How do we avoid that? You make the meeting when? When should you make the meeting? The night before, right? You create your message the night before, okay? Also with meetings, another point of advice, this is a to-do. There's certain times, if I have, let's say you have 5, 6 people in your office, and as the owner, you've done some second rounds of some of the newer people coming in yourself, you know their background. You can run a meeting, there's times where I'll run a meeting to retain 1 or 2 people. And it's not like, what I mean by that, so let's make sure we're really, really clear on that. It's not like, so Ali, if you're in my office, and I've had, me and you have had breakfast, dinner, you've been in the office for a couple weeks, if I had a critical conversation with you about mentality, I don't go and run a mentality meeting like 30 seconds later, right? But because then it's a little too obvious. It's like, oh, this person's making the meeting just for me, right? But I know if we've talked maybe 5, 6, 7 days ago, and I know that maybe you have a unique scenario with, being influenced at home, I might run a meeting about networking and carrying yourself, being put around people that are the most successful in the business. I'm not just going to look at you when I run the meeting, right? But really, that meeting is for him and maybe one other person. And let's put it this way: have you guys ever been in heard a meeting and thought, that shit sounds like it's for me, right? Or heard a conference call and it said, man, that shit sounds like it's for me. That's what retains people, right? So there were times where I'll specifically run a meeting for like 1 or 2 people that I'm really trying to keep in the business. And the mistake that you make is thinking that, oh, well, my leaders heard this meeting before, so I'm not going to run this. Forget your leaders. You're not running the meeting for the leaders. You're running the meeting for the new guys. To get them, you're trying to get them to think like an entrepreneur. That's one of the bigger points of so I talked about preempting. I talked about educating. The purpose of the education is because the majority of people have been taught to think not like an entrepreneur, right? They're thinking about schedule and hourly and really focused on that telemap or clocking in, and those things are the priority. And then eventually through all the meetings, you start getting that guy or gal that's starting to get the mindset of our business, where you used to tell them to do a road trip and they said, why? Where am I going? To send me anywhere. That's the difference, right? When they've heard enough meetings and they understand the opportunity and they believe that they can accomplish it. That's another part of the meeting. So this was a big one to write down. Instilling confidence in your people in the fact that they can do it. I can't tell you guys and gals how many conversations I've had with new reps that say, I love the business. I love the opportunity. I get it, Dwayne. Now that you've ran enough impacts, I get the why. I get why travel. I get why expand. I get why sacrifice weekends. I get all that. Honestly though, I don't know if I can do that. And that's how some people are. They believe in everything other than the most important thing, which is what? Themselves. I can tell you guys, I come from a huge sports background. I played 4 sports varsity. I played college football. I've been on big stages. And coming into this business, the idea of being a guy that wears a suit every day, being a guy that will one day be in a room with AT&T corporate executives, I would have told you I don't want to go in that room. That room's uncomfortable to me. I'm a jock. I don't know how to speak that language. I don't know how to talk to people in those sort of circles of groups. Talking in front of a group like this, no way I would have ever thought to do that without having word for word, okay, this is how it's going to work. I was terrified of public speaking. And I'm not saying that to try to relate to you guys, all right? I was terrified. You can ask my mom. Like, I'm telling you, all my friends would tell you, they're standing right here. Like, even on the sports teams, I wasn't the vocal guy. I wasn't the guy always in people's faces. I was just, hey, I'm just going to lead by example. I let other people do all the talking. I just led by example. I wasn't the vocal leader. So, which some of you that know me are probably like, I can't really see that. I can't imagine that. Because you always see me talking now. I was concerned about my ability to speak in front of people. It was something that I got butterflies in my stomach. I got the circle sweat around the arms, right? Because it just was the idea of everybody looking at me at the same time. That wasn't comfortable for me. So I didn't know if I can do it. So when I started hearing meetings about, and Mike used to say, hey, the only difference between me and you is I've done this 7,000 times, you've done it once. Okay, that makes sense. So if I keep doing it, so where do I learn how to start doing this, like, just little by little? Well, that's what a high roller speech is. So that's the importance of giving high roller speeches. That's the importance of running impacts. So you start getting accustomed to what that's like in less amount of time. The first time I got selected to speak at Keys of Success, I was 8 months into management. And Mike told me, you're going to talk at Keys of Success? I almost passed out. Because I'm like, I got to talk to owners, not leaders, owners. They already know what I'm supposed to say. Like, I was terrified. And then to make it worse, you guys ready for this one? To make it worse, I planned my topic by mistake as if I was talking to leaders. And like 30 minutes before, he goes, Dwayne, you can't say that, you're talking to owners. Dude, it was a nightmare for me. My confidence. The point of what I'm telling you guys and gals is that this is critical to build and making sure everybody knows, hey, how we run when you're running your meetings, you're telling your people how we run our business is we are going to invest time and you're going to teach people through your meeting. You're going to invest time that people that are in people that are doing the biggest job. And you're going to let them know that they can grow the same exact way as everybody else. That meeting, I run that at least once a week to empower and inspire the people that I work with. That they can do, I'm no different than you. You can do exactly what I do. A couple last things that I know we'll transition here. I talked to you guys about some of the things that can help. Another thing too is sometimes changing up your environment when you run a meeting. If you do a meeting every single day in the same exact spot, the same exact time, sometimes if it's a good day based on your city, sometimes we might do a quick meeting outside. We might change the environment. Sometimes I may need to bring in my promoting owner to run the meeting. I tell guys all the time, I'll run an opportunity meeting for your office. So change it up a little bit. I mean, again, your promoting owner's been doing meetings a little bit longer, or you're regional or national. Ask them to run a meeting for you. There's times where even last week I ran an impact for one of the guys, Justin. Justin in Cleveland. He hired 3 new people. He'd had a hard time getting people to stick when he was starting them. So I ran an intro meeting for the 3 people, just like how Mike runs those calls on Monday, right? Get your people on those calls, those Monday calls that Mike runs as an introduction to the business. So use other resources other than yourself. And then the other part of it is just make sure you have bullet points. I would not try to freestyle. Even if you feel, hey, I'm a good speaker, and all those things, which again, that's fine, some of you do. I would always come with bullet points so that you can have a nice flow and it's not all over the place when you guys and gals are running your meetings. But I have seen this part of the business watered down a little bit. Meaning, when I was getting promoted, anytime an owner came to our office, they ran killer meetings, and you could tell they took pride in running meetings. Today, I see a lot of watered down meetings. Again, going over sales, being 4 minutes long, 5 minutes long. I don't see a lot of education happening in the meetings. A lot of explanation on why we have clients, right? Why we do what we do. Here's one thing I'll leave you with, and I know I'm coming up on my time. I have a meeting that really I get good feedback from that I want to share with you guys. It's called the Why meeting, right? It's called the Why meeting. And with the Why meeting, and you can decide what the topics are, but there could be a ton of them. A part of the Why meeting is I say, why do we do atmosphere? So I ask the guys, and I say, well, why don't we just send everybody directly to the location? Why don't we just send everybody directly to the store? Does anybody know why we just don't send people to the store? And the funny thing is you'll get answers that are like this much right, but they're like this much wrong. So some people will say, well, you don't send us directly to the stores because we gotta be here to get our supplies. Well, yeah, right? But there's other things happening. Oh, well, you send us here so we can practice our pitch before we go to the store. You'll start hearing what a lot of people actually think about why we do atmosphere, but the real reason why is that's where what happens? Development. You learning how to do a high roller speech, you talking in front of people, you becoming a leader and starting to train people, or you're almost in leadership and you're watching someone else train. That's the Why meeting. Why do we represent the client? Why do we have the clients we have? Have you ever heard of True Vision Enterprises? Hell no, I never heard of that. Have you ever heard of AT&T? Hell yes. So how does a company I've never heard of acquire AT&T? How does a company I've never heard of acquire Costco, acquire Uber, acquire Sam's, Sprint, Verizon? I've never even heard of your company. So we run that meeting. Why do I have these clients? Why are our leadership qualifications set this way? Why do we need you to prove that you need to develop 2 to 3 people to become a corporate trainer? Why don't we just say you can just have people and they don't need to develop? Do you know why? These are all the things, and you can educate through the Why meeting. It's an unbelievable impact. Whatever questions that you would like to use, and you will realize that people don't know as much as what you think they know. Even people that have been in your business, just based upon either the fact that they won't raise their hand because they don't know the answer, or their answers are like 20% right and 80% wrong. The Why meeting is absolutely critical. And of course, you guys, I think Zach, what did Zach go over? You go over the opportunity with you guys? And you running your own opportunity meetings for your people. Why meetings are really, really good. They'll help you guys a ton. And the more you run those, the better chance you have of retaining people, or the better chance you have of people communicating to you faster that this is not for them. I have more people than ever coming up saying, now that I really understand, I don't know if I see myself. No problem. It happened much faster than waiting 2 weeks and losing money on people. And I don't encourage people to quit. I don't run a meeting, hey, if you do this, you should quit. All right? I don't necessarily do it like that. Some people do. But some people just become honest once they're fully educated. Either way, good or bad. So anyways, any questions, guys, before I go back? Yes, sir.
How is it, like, this might be a dumb question, but how do you get people to engage in Atmo that are like kind of shy and not necessarily negative, but people like, sometimes I feel like I'm the only one up there just
upbeat,
beating a dead horse and nobody's engaging, they're just listening.
Sure. Do you have any leaders in your office?
I've got one.
Sure. So that's where it's going to start. It's going to start with the example from both of you, and really also there might be, maybe guys need to understand the why behind atmosphere, right? Why do we have energy? Why are we upbeat? Why? That will help. So just I would look at you and your leader first having a conversation, and then educating the group on the purpose behind atmosphere. But whenever you're doing things, you're setting the tone. So for example, if you walk into my atmosphere, right, and I see you like this, right, the first thing I'll do is I'll walk over to you and I'll say, hey, so everything okay? Everything all good? You're getting real comfortable with the ledge over there, man. Is everything, oh yeah, sorry, I'm good. I was like, yeah, man, you look tired. You look, are you okay? Are we good to go? We all set? We got to get to work. And the person's like, yeah, okay, cool. Okay, cool, man, let's have a good day. And then I'll move. But I'll set the tone. I'm not going to be like, don't do that. You know, I'm going to make light of it and make a little quick joke. The person realizes, damn, I do look kind of slouchy. Let me get back up. And then I move on. But I set the example every day. So I don't let people do that stuff. I don't let some person just lean up against there. I don't let that happen. I always say something, right? Every single time. But that's how you will start to change. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you bring that, it'll start to change the culture a little bit. Go ahead.
So for an example, I have a girl that is in my office and she'll keep asking me like, hey, do you mind helping me with closing or assuming the sale?
Sure.
Like, absolutely, I'll run an impact on that in the morning. I start running the impact, I'm like, okay, so what questions do you have? What else are you struggling with? That's it. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have any questions about it. Let's see what we can do to fix it. I'm like, did you take notes on it? I've already got it written down. We're going to write it again.
Sure.
And she just, nothing happens.
Not a lot of engagement to me.
No engagement.
That at that point for me, it lets me know about the person.
Yeah.
You know, so that's more of just, this is probably the average Joe person that doesn't get it and doesn't understand or doesn't really feel like they're learning anything, because when you're talking in their mind, they're making excuses on why that won't work.
Exactly. And
Yep.
hey, let's go and fix this. Oh, but and then just give me an
It's
excuse.
not the right, to me, you're betting on the wrong horse.
Yeah. Okay.
In my opinion. Yeah. Okay, yes.
I was gonna say with the meetings, how do you advise not to run a motivational meeting every Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Like,
Me personally, I don't have days.
okay.
I don't look at it like this day I run motivation, this day I run compliance, because my business changes, right? No different than if I'm coaching a football team, I don't have every play scripted through all 4 quarters. Why? Because I might be winning in the 4th quarter, or I might be getting crushed in the 4th quarter. So my play calling is going to change based upon the situation. But it can't change that day. The night before should be enough time for you to know. So I don't do things that way. Because if I have a bunch of new people that I know are starting on Monday, I'm running a Monday, Wednesday, or a Monday, Tuesday 2-part opportunity meeting, right? Because I know I got 4 or 5 stud guys and gals that are coming in Monday and Wednesday, and I want them kicking off with the opportunity. So that's my game plan, is based on what's happening in my business, not just, hey, this day I'm gonna run this day I'm gonna run this. I don't do it that way.
Okay, and then my second part was gonna be, I've heard of some owners transitioning their morning meeting to start before rather than ending that. Would you suggest?
I don't like that.
No?
I like slingshotting people into the field.
Okay.
Meaning with they inspired. I want you to be inspired on the bigger picture, which is the most important point. No different than, again, it's like psychology of signing up a customer, right? We save the bullet to the end to close the deal. I look at the same. The bullet is the opportunity, right? And the message and the education. So I personally don't like it that way. I wouldn't like to run the meeting first. I like running the meeting last. Yes.
So if you notice someone leaning on the walls while you're running the meeting, would you just like save that till after?
I would.
Okay, just making sure.
I save it till after. Some people like calling someone out in the middle.
No,
if it was like a leader, I'd say it because the leaders already know, they know that shouldn't happen. I'd make a joke of it. I'd be like, hey, you okay? Are you all right? Oh, they would know right away what I'm doing. I wouldn't do it to anybody. I'd talk to them after.
So just like a
I gotta go,
brief
right,
little,
Jeremy?
okay, cool.
Jeremy, I gotta go, right?